I'm going to Japan for the month, so I thought it'd be fun to challenge myself to film what I eat every single day. Japan's only open to residents and citizens right now, so I haven't seen anyone do this in a while. First thing we did was we went to Mitsuwa, which is this Japanese grocery store in LA. I don't know why we went, because we're going to Japan anyway, but I got meronpan. It has this like sugar cookie crust on the outside and soft bread on the inside. And then we got golden berries or gooseberries from Trader Joe's. This one was really tart. I think it might be out of season. And then I ate some musenbe because I was really hungry. It's like a Japanese cracker, but combined with chips because it's kind of greasy. And it's like so satisfying to eat because it's so crunchy. And obviously I washed it all down with some tea. They served us like chicken and rice or hayashi beef with turmeric rice. The chicken was so nasty, but the hayashi beef was so good. Me and my mom ended up sharing that, but we were really hungry because they only served us one thing the whole ride, and you had to pay for anything extra. So I ended up having oinari-san, which is like, it's like tofu skin with sushi rice. It's so good. It's one of my favorite things. It's like very sweet and savory, and it's something that a lot of people eat in their like bento or like lunch. I had some pomegranate seeds from Trader Joe's. Those were so sweet. They were so good. And then I ended up eating another gooseberry, and luckily this one was actually so sweet and delicious. Then I had korokke, which is the same thing as like croquette. And basically it's like fried potatoes. Sometimes you put meat in it or like veggies. And then you put this tonkatsu sauce or Japanese barbecue sauce on top. When I was reading, this petal fell out of my book. And it really made me miss Mel because we always read in this rose garden. And it was so cute. Anyway, I ended up landing and going straight to Starbucks because there's this rose frappuccino that I really want to try. But they were sold out, so I settled for some chai. It tasted kind of different than America's, but yeah, it was really good. So they had this size smaller than a tall. It's called a short, and that's what I ended up getting. It's like actually so small, like if you see my hand for comparison. Anyway, I had these like, they're like beans. I think the translation is like lima beans. I'm not really sure, but they're so good and crunchy, and I love this. In Japan, day 2, I ended up waking up at 4:30 because of the jet lag, so I headed straight to 7-Eleven. It's really different than America's. You could get like a full meal here, so I ended up getting a little latte. It had caramel and coconut, and it was like very dark and creamy, not too sweet, which is how I like it. Tasted like something you could get at Starbucks. So I ended up walking past this sign. It's a stranger danger sign, but I thought it was kind of cute. So my grandma made me an egg, and I had it with some rice. This type of spread is really common for Japanese breakfast. You get a little bit of everything. So I had cabbage and seaweeds, braised daikon radish, 2 different types of pickled eggplant, and myoga, which is Japanese ginger. So the daikon radish is braised in like soy sauce, and it has chunks of tofu in it. It's so good. And then I ended up having this jelly with oranges. The jelly is made from this type of seaweed. It doesn't taste like seaweed at all. It's really healthy for you, and I feel like it's gonna hit America and be like a health food craze as like a healthy alternative. And I washed it down with some tea. We got this watermelon from our neighbor's house. It's absolutely ginormous and so sweet. So we had it with some lunch. And for lunch, we had myoga, cheese, green tomato, pickled carrots, pickled eggplant, kimchi, and some soybeans. So what you just saw right there was hamburger, which translates to hamburger, but it's not the same thing. It's like a beef patty. It's really soft, and it's like braised in tomato and brown sauce. You eat it with some rice, and it is so good. And then I ended up having this cheese. It's really satisfying to open. The cheese is like the in-between of a sharp and mild cheese, and it's like really addicting to eat. I had 3 of them throughout the day, and my grandma was really mad at me. But anyway, it was so good. For dessert, I had some watermelon. It was so sweet, and I really like eating the seeds because it's crunchy. Anyway, I really like how you get a little bit of everything when it comes to Japanese meals, and I skipped dinner, so bye, see you tomorrow. Hi, it's what I ate in Japan, day 3. I woke up at 4 today, and I had yogurt, and my grandma made this homemade blueberry jam that was so good, and then I drizzled some honey on top. This is the spread for today. We had kimchi, scrambled egg, watermelon from yesterday, cheese, and some yogurt. So Japanese kimchi is a lot sweeter than Korean kimchi, and I think it's a little bit less pickled. I might be wrong though. And the eggs here, they're the same taste, but Japanese eggs are a lot more orange. I'm not really sure why. And you can eat them raw if you want. And then the watermelon is so good. We've been trying to finish it up. So I put on makeup, which I really regretted because it's 95 degrees here. Anyway, we went to go get udon. They hand pull the noodles here, and you can either get them hot or cold. I got them cold. So this is maitake mushroom tempura, grated daikon radish, a variant of the lime, green onion, and some tempura flakes, and grated ginger. You cover the noodles in this dashi soy sauce, and it doesn't look very saucy, but the noodles are packed with flavor, and it's so refreshing in the heat, and the mushroom is amazing. I'm obsessed with mushrooms, so this really hit the spot for me. And then my mom let me have some of her tempura fried egg, and it was really jammy. So you eat standing up here because it's supposed to be like on the go, and this guy was eating with his baby. It was so cute. Anyway, I was craving matcha, so we went to get some, and honestly, this wasn't the best matcha I've ever had in Japan. It wasn't dark enough, but it was still good. And I went shopping and I got Toad from Frog and Toad, and I hung him on my tote and tucked him into the pocket like he was sleeping. We went to go get mochi. This mochi is wrapped in, it's not necessarily a bamboo leaf, it's like kind of similar. It's called sasadango. It's sweet and it has red bean inside. So for dinner we had stew and fried chicken or karage, and some cucumbers with seaweed and some tomatoes with dressing. So these are shirataki noodles. They sell them in the US and advertise them as like a 0-calorie noodle or like pasta alternative, but you're not supposed to eat them like that, and that's why people complain that they're gross. But I promise they're really good if you prepare them right. And I had a lettuce wrap, and for dessert we had some more mochi, and you cover this with some soybean powder flour. I don't really know how to describe the taste. It's not really sweet exactly, but it's one of my favorite things. And we also had warabi mochi, which is a lot more chewier and delicious. Anyway, bye. See you tomorrow. Alright, it's what I ate in Japan day 4. So my jet lag's been getting a lot better. I woke up at 5 today and headed straight to this bakery. This bakery does like a Western touch on Japanese baked goods. Japan does bread really well because they do it in this French style, and sometimes they send a lot of their bakers to Paris to train. This is just normal white bread that I put a lot of butter on. This would usually just have sweet white bean in it, but because of the Western touch, they added lemon curd, and the flavors match surprisingly so well. I've never had something like this before. It usually would just look like this with either white bean or red bean in bread. And then I had oyaki, which are like veggies. Usually it wouldn't be in bread, but for some reason they did that here, and they added a lot of butter. It tasted like spinach dips. So good. I have this juice box for lunch. It's equivalent of V8 basically. And then we had savory mochi. It's mochi wrapped in seaweed and covered in soy sauce, and then you eat it with grated daikon. I also had this like imitation crab and seaweed wrapped in a shiso leaf for my grandma's backyard. The shiso leaf is very like sharp and fresh. So good. For my snack, I bought these Doritos. They're taco flavored, and I was curious about them, and they literally taste exactly like Taco Bell. It kind of freaked me out, and at first I was unsure, but I ate the whole bag, so I guess I like them. Anyway, I had mochi while my grandma rubbed my feet because I'm spoiled, and then we had dumplings for dinner. Pork and shrimp dumplings to be specific, and some pickled eggplant. And this looks kind of sad, but I promise it was actually really good. And then we had some leftovers as well. This pickled eggplant is different from the pickled eggplant I've shown like the past 3 videos. We eat it like every day. It's really lightly pickled. It was definitely my favorite. Our neighbor bought it for us. Very sweet of him. And then I dipped my gyoza or dumplings in some soy sauce. This had shiso and pork in it. For dessert, we had crepe cake. It's like a bunch of layers of crepe and whipped cream with fruit. It's so airy, so creamy, so delicious. I got it from 7-Eleven. Isn't that crazy? 7-Eleven here is absolutely amazing. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow.